What's going on YouTube, and welcome back to yet another riveting edition of Mr. McGuinty's How-To Guide. I'm your host, PMcG. Today we're going to go over the installation of Cobb Tuning's dual adjustable short throw shifter for the Subaru Impreza WRX years 2008 to 2014. Now before we begin, don't forget to stop by the channel and check out all the other how-tos. There's tons there already and there's more to come. There should be an icon somewhere around here, just click it and it'll take you right there. Also, if you like what I'm doing, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps out the channel, which in turn helps me make more content for you. So without further ado, let's get to it.
Alright, to get started with the install, the first thing you need to do is take off the shift knob. So just grab a hold of it, and you want to spin counterclockwise. I might need a little extra grip, but just give it a good squeeze and start spinning. It is pretty threaded, like it's got quite a few turns, so just keep spinning and eventually it'll end up popping off. There we go. Okay, so now that this is off, what we need to do is actually take the trim right here and pop it off where the actual emergency brake shift boot is. You can actually do this with a flathead screwdriver or a trim removal tool. The trim removal tool is a little bit softer than the material that you're going to be prying against, so that you don't end up busting it up. If you trust yourself, a flathead screwdriver works perfectly fine. Or you can do it the old school method and just start pulling. This, I don't know if it'll work for me. Nope, I'm going to need to grab my, my flathead, so I'll be back in just a second. Okay, so flathead screwdriver. Get it one of the seams. One, two, three. You need to just do it all the way around until this is pretty much completely loose. Okay. And next, Phillips head. There is a flathead screw, which I'll give you guys a close-up here in just a second. It's right here. Just unscrew. Here we go. Flathead. Sorry, Phillips. Okay, that will allow this portion to come up. I just need to grab a hold and give it a little bit of a tug. And it won't come up all the way because there is actually still some stuff attached in here. What you can do is where your actual armrest is, right here. If you lift this up, there are going to be two Phillips head screws. Unscrew those. This whole center console should actually be able to be removed all the way out of the way. Okay, and the two screws in the center console that I was speaking about are right here. So one here, one here. Let's loosen those up. There we go. Out. And now, pull back and take a look at this. And hand under here. There we go. And voila. Whole thing comes all the way up. You can take it out if you want. I don't really need to. Just enough to be able to get this guy out of the way. Alright, next we want to get this actual trim piece out. We already have the center console detached. There are a couple of places you can get this at. One is right at the seam right here. Just pop your fingers under there, pop, do the same thing to the other side. And then there are a couple at the back. We'll take some wiggle, but eventually it will let go. Tie up. There we go. Get this out of the way. Alright, and here are the internals. What we want to do is actually take off these two caps. They spin. Should unscrew like regular screws. There we go. Okay. Alright, now we just need to pull all this squishiness out. This is just sound deadening material for the cabin. And voila, shifter assembly. Oh! Next we need to get a 12mm boxed and 12mm socket. Box wrench, socket, or vice versa, however you want to do it. And basically take this linkage out so that we can actually move the transmission linkage away from the shifter itself. Okay, so we have a 12mm boxed wrench and a 12mm socket. Oh, turn that over. We'll loosen up the linkage to the transmission. Okay, now that the transmission linkage is disconnected from the actual shifter assembly, we need to get the actual shifter assembly out. To do that, you need to use a pair of these guys. This is a snap ring tool, or C-clamp. Basically what you're doing is you're sticking it down in here, and the actual ring itself looks like this. Where the tip of my index and thumb is, there would be a hole. These guys would go down in, and then you would bring it together and clamp it and pull it out. If you can survive getting this out of the car, then that's pretty much the hardest part of this install, is actually getting that out. It is very finicky. Just keep trying, because obviously, you know, you're going to be in the middle of the install and you want to be able to finish, otherwise you're not going to be able to shift. Okay, the snap ring is out. Can't really see it too well right now, but it's right here. You'll be able to see it once we get the assembly pulled out. It is completely disconnected from the transmission, so basically what we just need to do is grab hold of this guy and pull it out. It will take a little bit of force, but it shouldn't be overwhelming. There we go. Alright, so there is the wonderful C-clamp hanging on for dear life. And then you have the bushing. This needs to come off, both of them, and go on to the bottom of the new Cobb shifter, as well as the bushings and the cylinder in the middle of the actual shifter assembly that connects to the transmission linkage. Okay, on the left we have the factory shifter. The bushing and retainer has been taken off and put onto the new Cobb short shifter, as well as the snap ring. Put the snap ring on first, it should just slide right on. All of this actually should be able to be taken off with just your hand. Just make sure that you are transferring any of the grease from here over to here, make it so that it's all well lubed, so that everything down in the bushing here, or bracket, is a-okay. Okay, on the original shifter assembly, you need to get out the cylinder for the connection to the linkage, as well as these little bushings. The cylinder you should be able to push out with just your finger. Yeah, like that. And just slide that out, as well as these bushings. The bushings, if you can't get them out with your fingernail, like I have short fingernails so I won't be able to, just get a flathead screwdriver and you'd be pushing, go through the hole and push the opposite direction out. So if you're coming from the center here, you go that direction to get this one out, and then from coming in this direction from the center here, you'd be pushing this way to pop that one out. And then just put those on the new Cobb short shifter. Okay, we have the shifter bushings and the bushing at the bottom here for the linkage back on the new shifter, and basically we just need to take it now and get it socketed back down in there. There we go. Alright, and then we do have to reattach the oh so lovely snap ring, so I will be back. Okay, snap ring is in, so it is reattached. What we need to do now is reattach the actual shifter assembly to the transmission linkage. So go ahead and throw this guy back in. Okay, once you have the transmission linkage connected to the actual shifter itself, it's time to set the height of the shift knob, as well as the shortness of the throws. The top adjustment, which is right here, will adjust the shift knob height, and then the lower, very bottom one, will adjust the actual throw. Now, the higher this is, the actual unit itself, the higher this is, the shorter the throws. Now, there is the ability to actually decrease the throw by up to 25%, but to do that, you will actually need to modify this plate. To do that, you need to remove all four of these bolts, take this out, and then cut out this portion of the metal bracket. Reason being, the higher that this gets, the higher the shifter linkage is going to get. And if this is too high, this portion of the shifter linkage, or of the transmission linkage, is actually going to hit this portion. So you'll run into issues shifting into first and third. Okay, I have already set the shift knob height, and basically all you're doing is using your Allen wrench that was provided with the kit, and loosening this up, making the adjustment, and then tightening it back down. You can do some dry runs by putting the shifter assembly, the actual shifter handle, back on and thread it. Just make sure it will thread. And then what we need to do now is actually loosen up the bottom portion. I found the Allen wrench that came with the kit was a little too short for me reaching down and trying to actually get this loosened up, so I got a longer one out of my mechanics toolkit. But basically, you're just going to loosen this up. Remember, you don't want to over thread this because you don't want it to peel, because then you would be out of luck. Alright, see, now it loosened up and the transmission linkage started to slip, which means that this is loose, so I can actually take this out. And we should be able to, yep, start moving this around. Now, let's find out what gear the car's in first. Okay, so get it in neutral. Okay, so it's in neutral. I'm going to shift into first. Still looks like it's good. I'm going to get it up as high as it will go. Alright, so that looks to be about as far as it can go with this plate still in place. After setting the shifter as high as possible, the geometry right here is really, really tight, and if you listen, you can actually hear the rubber here rubbing back and forth. And if I leave it like that, even though it still clears this metal portion, it's going to end up wearing a hole in this, so I do need to drop down a little bit and make a small adjustment. Okay, height adjustment made. No more squeaking, which means it's not rubbing back down in here anymore. So we can throw the shifter on and test to make sure that it threads properly, and you know, just give it a couple of dry run shifts, make sure everything feels alright, and then we will do the reassembly. Alright, got everything buttoned back up, got the trim piece back together, and the shifter assembly screwed in. Center console put back together. The only thing you should have left is your hex bit Allen wrench provided in the kit, the original shifter assembly, and the parts you were working with. New shifter installed. Don't forget to stop by the channel and check out all the other how-tos. Like and subscribe. Take it easy, YouTube, and we'll see you next time.